Hello and welcome back to season 3 of the Secure Woman podcast. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus. I know it's been a little while since I've put up an episode, but this year just already, and I know we're only like 6 months into the year, has already been such a whirlwind. There's been so much going on behind the scenes in my business, in my life. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that this time last year, me and my partner moved cities. We have our own place by the beautiful beach, and it's been absolutely incredible, but it has been so busy. Life has been so go, 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 go. And it really forced me, especially with my business. I've taken on lots of amazing new clients, doing such deep, incredible work. But it did mean that I needed to prioritize. And unfortunately, the podcast did not make my top priority until now. And I'm really excited to be bringing it back because I love yapping. I also feel like I'm just better in long form. I feel like don't get me wrong, like reels are great, but I'm someone who, like, in university and even in high school, when we had to write essays for assignments, I was the person that while everyone was trying to add words into their essays, I was trying to cull words down because I was like 1,000 words over. And so I'm not great at being concise. And so I feel like long form potty episodes where I just get to yap and I just get to really dive deep into the nitty gritties. I get to go off on my random little side tangents. Like, that's my favorite. That is my favorite. So we're back. And I thought I'd give just a little bit of like a behind the scenes for what's been going on in my life, particularly something that I've been navigating in my own inner healing journey this year. And if you follow me on Instagram, you will see that I have recently gone back to do some more EMDR therapy. And I love EMDR therapy. It is another, alongside somatics, it is another one of those like most highly researched, highly backed forms of trauma therapy. And the way I do EMDR therapy, the therapists that I have worked with are very much somatic based. It's very much about incorporating the nervous system. It's not just sit there, yap about it. It's not about just like look at something on a screen. It's really like nervous system, body, somatic involved. And that's why that is when EMDR therapy is so truly powerful. So I'm back doing some shadow work. And it's always so interesting. And I was saying this to my therapist just the other day, actually, that it's so interesting to be on the receiving end of doing this work because so often I am the coach and my clients are coming to me to face and feel and process some of their deepest, most uncomfortable pains, the things that they are too scared to face alone or they don't know how to face alone, because it is really hard to face your deepest pains, your deepest traumas, your deepest fears on your own. Not just hard, I would honestly argue nearly impossible when your body, in just its innate human animal protective mode instinct, wants to block you out, wants you to avoid the pain, doesn't want you to go into that. And so it's really important that you work with an expert who can create that safety and can guide you. And so often I am the expert for so many of my absolutely incredible, amazing clients in my world. And it's always so interesting when the role shifts for me and I'm on the receiving end and I have to get really uncomfortable. And don't get me wrong, like at this point, I am an absolute expert of shadow work. I love to get into the nitty gritty. I am okay with getting uncomfortable and facing my shadows because I know that it's worth it in the long run, but that doesn't mean that in the midst of actually doing it, feels really freaking uncomfortable. So it's really nice to get just a little taster of like what it's actually like to be the client, to be on the receiving end. What I want to dive into today though is why I've gone back to some EMDR therapy. And I want to start by saying I think it's really easy to think that, oh, once I'm in a secure relationship, once I have a secure partner, then all my problems will be solved. Then it'll all be perfect. I'll never get anxiety. It'll just be one big fairy tale ending, right off into the sunset, just cool, calm, and collected. Every day is freaking amazing. But here's the truth that I have realized this year is that a secure and healthy relationship will trigger you more than your toxic relationships. Especially if you are someone such as myself who has only ever known toxic love. You've only ever known love that you had to chase, that you had to beg for, love that felt chaotic, love that felt uncertain or dangerous or highs and lows. To then come into a secure relationship, that can be really unfamiliar and can be quite triggering. And I want to add here too, it's a different kind of triggering than toxic relationships. By no means am I saying that you should be staying in a toxic relationship, a relationship that's truly toxic, where you feel triggered 24/7 because you're using the excuse of, but everyone says you're meant to be triggered in a secure relationship. Like, it's normal. There's a level of normal, right? There's a huge difference between being triggered in a healthy relationship versus being triggered in a toxic relationship. If you are in a relationship where you are being disrespected, neglected, manipulated or controlled or gaslit or guilted, if you are being let down over and over and over again, if you are having to beg for your bare minimum needs to be met, and even then they're not met, if you feel like you can't be your fully authentic self or voice your needs or your wants out of fear that they will shut you down or they themselves will shut down, if you're in fear that they will yell at you or start big arguments or give you silent treatment, if you are being yelled at, belittled, sworn at, called names, that is a toxic relationship and you need to leave. That is not just you're being triggered in the right relationship. You're being triggered is your body and your nervous system screaming at you, I am not happy. This is not okay. I do not feel safe. We need to leave. You need to listen to that. Please, for me. The type of triggering that I am talking about being triggered in a healthy relationship, which is very much what I've been experiencing this year because I know my relationship is healthy. I feel loved. My partner is kind and consistent and respectful and everything feels really calm. Yes, life happens and, there's things with my partner questioning sort of career. We're going on a big trip over to the UK at the end of the year, so we're saving for that. There's other things that just come up in life, but for the most part, everything is really consistent, really solid, really secure, really calm. But this has shone a big, bright floodlight on the discomfort, the innate, on the discomfort, on the impulses within me, the unhealed wounds, and the toxic coping mechanisms within me that have been wanting to come out with everything feeling so cool, calm, and collected. And what I realized was that if I acted on a lot of these, I would blow up the best relationship I've had. I would ruin this relationship and I'd never forgive myself for this. And so that is why I have gone back and I'm working with a phenomenal EMDR therapist who takes the awareness that I already have and actually helps me reprogram that into my nervous system. And so for me, what's been coming up, the first thing, and I'm like, how do I break this down in my head? Because I think a lot of you will relate to this, whether you are also in a relationship and you are experiencing this at the moment. And if you are, I want you to really know, you are so being seen in this. You are not on your own in this. You're not weird in this. This is and as I'm going to explain, this is super normal. It's not a cause for alarm. Or you might be single and dating, but aware that this is going to come up in your future relationship, so you might as well nip it in the bud now. So the biggest sort of overarching thing that I'm navigating is that 3.5 years into this relationship, And I am carving a completely new path with this relationship. I'm going in blind. I don't have a blueprint for how to go, how to show up, how this works. I don't have a blueprint or evidence for what's normal this far into a healthy, secure relationship. Other than the research and study I've done, obviously, to become and be a trauma and relationship coach, as well as knowing what I absolutely do not want in a relationship based on what was modeled to me. So I'm in a real space of this is unfamiliar as fuck. And what does our nervous system and brain do when things are unfamiliar? They freak out because, if we think of ourselves as human animals, the unknown, the unfamiliar, things that are unpredictable, our bodies and our brains interpret that as danger. But that doesn't mean it's dangerous. It just means it's unfamiliar. But my body started to freak out a little bit. It was like, everything's cool, everything's calm, everything's happy. What the fuck? This is scary. And the reason this is because it's based on two things I saw in and experienced in my household, witnessing my parents' relationships and what I lived through in that quiet meant two things. One, waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's that feeling of like, things are too quiet. Things are going too good. Like, surely something's going to come along and just blow it up, right? Something's going to happen. It all seems too calm, too quiet, too nice, too good to be true. That was something that I experienced a lot growing up. When things seemed too good to be true, they probably were. Something pretty hectic was about to come around the corner and fuck it all up. The other thing it meant, and this is what I got a lot from my parents and a big piece of what I'm working through at the moment in particular, is that quiet and calm meant disconnection, drifting apart, and ultimately the biggest danger and fear that I developed when I was a teenager. I watched my parents stay married, but completely drift apart, have no connection, not go out on date nights, not say I love you, not be affectionate, just disconnected and cohabitating out of, convenience, fear, whatever their reasons may have been. But I witnessed that. And like I said, as a teenager, and this was something I uncovered in our session last week, is like, as a teenager, probably around 14, 15, I made a really firm declaration to myself that I would never, ever end up in a relationship like that. I would never, ever marry someone like that. I would never, ever raise my kids in an environment, in a household, witnessing a relationship like that. I'd never put them in what I was going through. And ever since then, my very determined, my very feisty, my very sassy inner teen has been on a mission to make sure that that never happens. But with that comes a hell of a lot of pressure and a hell of a lot of fear of getting it wrong. Even though I know consciously I've picked an amazing partner, I've picked a very secure partner, this fear coupled with not feeling really unfamiliar and scared when things are quiet and calm and consistent. Again, even though I know consciously this is a good thing, this is what I want, your nervous system, your subconscious is a whole different kettle of fish. Can't talk your way out of that. You can't think or journal your way out of that. You actually have to go into the original trauma, the original wounding, the original programming to reprogram that, to process what was unprocessed, to heal what has been left unhealed. That's what I do with my somatic modalities. And that's what I'm doing with EMDR work. EMDR work is the one form of somatic work, somatic trauma healing outside of what I can do for myself that I have found really works for me. EMDR is what I will be getting certified in next year. And I'm really excited about that because it is so powerful. I'm really excited to bring more of those concepts in to the work that I do already. But it's basically what I'm doing is I have to go back to the time when when I really ingrained certain beliefs and certain fears around relationships, which was when I was a teenager, based on what I had modeled to me. I have to change those, or else they are going to run my life and ruin my relationships for the rest of my life, which is so counterproductive considering the fear is like, I don't want to pick the wrong person. I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to end up in a toxic relationship. And it's like, hello, Kendall, you're not in a toxic relationship. You have picked right. You've picked an amazing partner. You're in a healthy relationship. And still my nervous system has freaked the fuck out. Again, this is why the somatic work is so important. And this is why the work will keep working. It is not just you get to this point and you are like 100% healed and you'll just be, happy the whole rest of your life. Like, things are going to come up, like, especially, and this has highlighted so much just how much this is true. You can feel 100% secure as fuck when you are single and not having someone else involved in your life or your environment, someone that's not holding a mirror up to the unhealed or shadowy parts of yourself. You can just live your life doing you. And that's amazing. It's an amazing point to get at. And it's part of why it is like so enjoyable when you're in your securely single era. It's like, whoa, I don't have to factor anyone else in. I don't have any boys or men disrupting my peace. It feels amazing. When you get into a relationship though, and there is someone holding that mirror up to you in a very healthy, safe way, it's uncomfortable. It's scary. It's triggering. And it caught me off guard. I wasn't fully expecting it. Again, logically, I knew this, right? Logically, I knew that relationship is always going to be a growth experience, that it's not always going to be smooth sailing, that it is going to be hard, that it is going to be challenging. And that's also why it is so important, the partner that you pick. You're not just picking a partner for right now. You're picking someone who is going to be there to hold your hand when the shadows of your past rear their ugly heads. I feel really, really lucky. Jordan is incredibly supportive. He knows that I need to go and do this. When I come back and I've had a really intense session, he's there with cuddles. He's there to help, like, soothe me if I need it, make me a cup of tea, talk about it if I want to, or when I'm ready. That's who you're picking a partner for, a partner who can stand by you and support you and make you feel safe, even in the hard times, whether that be, when shit comes up, whether that be when you have children, whether that be when you decide to have a midlife crisis and a big career change, whether that is when, God forbid, one of your parents or a loved one or a family member passes away. You are choosing someone who is going to be there with you through the hardest parts of your life. And so it's like, yeah, it is really important who you pick. And if you need to do a little bit of extra work when you do get into that relationship so that it does feel really safe and comfortable for you, much like I'm doing now, that's okay. That's normal. That's part of healing. That's part of being a secure woman in a relationship. Like I said, it's one thing to be securely single. It's another thing to be secure in dating. It's another thing to be secure in the early stages of a relationship. It's another thing to be secure the longer you are in that new secure relationship, because it is, you're still charting uncharted waters. That didn't make a lot of sense. You're still stepping into the unknown. It's not to say that this is always going to feel like this. It's always going to be hard and uncomfortable. Absolutely not. That's why I'm doing this work now, so that it doesn't, so that I can actually feel really like held and safe and like really good in this relationship, rather than fearing the calm and the security, or using old programming, operating off old experiences that's making it mean that it's something that's wrong. So this is what I'm navigating at the moment. And I just wanted to share this because I think it's a really important conversation to have. Like I say, of course, there are so many bloody Instagram couples at the moment who are making relationships seem like you have to be super romantic, super intense, like super amazing 24/7. And if it's not, then it's not healthy. Like, no, that's a highlight reel. Also, too, those types of couples, those types of accounts are starting to become monetized. And so it's literally their job to create content where it all looks happy and romantic and perfect all of the time. And that in reality is like a very small window. That's like, what, 30 to 90 seconds of their life. If they're making a vlog, it's like one day. You don't know. They don't show the hard moments. None of them are talking about this sort of shit. And that's a big part of why I'm doing it. It's like, yeah, I am so blessed to be in a secure, healthy relationship, but it's not perfect. It's not easy 100% of the time. Like, a lot of the time it's super easy, but like, there are hard times, and that's part of it. Don't shy away from that. And when you are with the right partner, you navigate that together and you grow together so that relationship becomes even stronger, even more secure, even more solid. Let me know how this landed for you. Drop it in the comments, drop me a DM on Instagram. I'm super excited to be back in your ears. I just love creating little podcast episodes. And so I will be coming out with episodes every week. Add, follow or notifications, whatever platform that you are listening to this on, so you know when new episodes come out. I'm aiming to have them out on Thursdays, New Zealand time. And so I can't wait to be doing this more. And I will chat to you on the next one. Bye.